Small problem to talk about, and then a big question of whether deep learning actually works. I had an email from an expert last night which changed my view of the world about that question, as you can imagine. The change in my world was I had thought the answer was yes, and I now think the answer is no. So that's like rather a big issue for 18065. But let's see about that later.
你慢慢的，就是说看看我老伴儿，他从2010年1月22日，忽然间就说出一些人听不懂的话，经常给人家也是讲佛法，还给人家治病，还给人家超度堕胎的孩子。我问他，我说你是哪来的？他说他是西藏商业市的主持，300年前在那讲经说法。
他说的完全正确。 我告诉你，他过去根本这种动作全部做不出来的。他过去就是一个主持，而且在庙里非常有能量的。所以你看，我告诉你，到了他身上去了，你们看见了吗？
知道。
所以修不好，继续投人；修不好变成亡灵。所以希望你们要真修实修，不要假修。大家听得懂吗？你们看看看，多可怜啊！
我问他，我说你为什么没修成？他说他犯了一个小错误。我说这是什么错误？他说他就是一个意念，看到一个小寡妇很可怜。
看见了没有啊？一个意念就让他不能投身到天上，多可怜呐！好，
感谢师父，
看见了吗？师父意念一到，他讲国语了。现在我在跟他讲话呢。
感谢师父，我现在在过，我的都给他一定在这过。
讲国语吗？讲两句国语好吗？
好的。
卢台长是谁呀？
卢台长是天上的菩萨。
你愿意不愿意跟着卢台长好好修啊？
非常愿意。
你愿意不愿意渡人啊？
非常愿意。
小房子在天上，在下面，好不好啊？
好。
我问你，西佛有用还是小房子有用啊？
西佛有小用，小房子有大用。
大家亲眼看见了吗？所以我告诉你们，要亲眼看见你才相信的。我告诉你，你呢过去修了这么多的事，所以呢，因为呢菩萨还练你有修，所以呢让你见到了台长，台长呢可以把你慢慢的通过你们的过去的缘分，给你念小房子，慢慢的把你送到天上去，相信不相信啊？
相信，谢谢台长。
讲藏文。看见了吗？现在知道了吧？什么叫学佛啊？看见了吗？你去找个研究藏文的，保证知道他说什么。好了，扎西达拉，坐下来，看见了吗？坐下来，扎西达拉，你修了很多，很好，你救了很多人，你现在也是到人间来救人的，希望你继续跟着台长一起救助众生，来还清自己的业债。你过去是不是打过拳呢？
是吧？
好，现在你呢在人家的身上，那么台长呢现在也不讲你，因为你跟他们先生过去的有缘分，那么你现在在他身上了，那么慢慢的呢，你总归要超度自己，要有个境界，慢慢要离开他，到更高的天上去。你们让这个元神和他本人的太太能够帮助你到天上，那么你以后会越来越好，跑到天上去，你就修成了，台长会帮助你的，好不好？好。看见了吗？西藏的喇嘛庙门口就这个样子呀。好了，结束。大家看台长厉害不厉害？看见动不动啊？我用的太厉害了，他不能动了。我用的太厉害了，刚刚用的力量太大了一点。好，菩萨慈悲啊，放开，菩萨把它放开。
师傅，像他这种情况，我们是给他念多少张小房子？
念到他走，把他抄到天上去。看见了吗？
他自己也在念，
他现在自己也在念，你给他讲，你给他讲。
天天啊，
天天念小房子吗？
对，有天天的念。
好，好好念，自己不要在人家身上，有本事自己到天上去，好不好？
好。
好了，
是的，
跟着台长好好修，好不好？
一定的，跟着师傅好好修，
好
修心修德，
好
弘扬佛法，
好
超出六道，
好
跟着观世音妈妈回家，
好
跟着师傅回家。
好。
定能参加这个听风会。那个我想有2个问题要问问
你讲吧。
那个我首先呢，我先说，因为呢我从来没学过佛法，然后对佛教的书呢曾经看过，但是我觉得很深，我看不懂。
你今天听我讲的浅不啦？
今天听你讲的就是跟日常的生活特别融洽，
对了，就白话佛法。
所以我觉得就挺受教育的。现在就很节约时间嘛，我说2件，问2件事。
你说吧，老妈妈。
我的丈夫2011年7月24日去世。因为他在世的时候呢，非常重视这个文化学习，所以也是学校的高材生，所以他有点一辈子怀才不遇，所以2011年呢，因为得了结肠癌就去世了。我呢，就是想问问他现在怎么样？
在哪里？
他的名字叫黎明的黎，永远的永，福禄的禄，黎永禄。
看到了，老妈妈，我告诉你好吗？
好，谢谢。
他跟你非常恩爱，
谢谢。
你们2个几乎不吵架的，
谢谢。
对不对？告诉
是这样的。
我告诉你，你的先生人非常好，是一个文质彬彬的人。
对对。
我告诉你，他这个人长相样子都非常的端庄。现在我看见他在天上。居然还戴个官帽，说明他已经在天上做官了。
谢谢。
老妈妈，我告诉你，一个人一辈子不害别人，不做坏事，
是。
我告诉你，照样上天。所以要做好人，不要做坏人。
是。
老妈妈，我告诉你，他过去的毛病你就知道，台长看到是他了。我形象我不去讲，他个头很高的。
他那个长得文质彬彬的倒是。
我告诉你，第二，他的鼻子很大。
对，一点也不错。
特征。
你说我们2个像吗？
像。
对。
你们2个有夫妻相，但是呢，你脸比他长。
对。
鼓掌。但是老妈妈，我现在告诉你，他对你有几个意见。第一，你把他的那个坟墓埋得不是太好。
后来我又换了，而且呢，花了3万块钱换了。
我告诉你，换了他也不满意。
那怎么办呢？
你以后要帮他超度掉，他就慢慢就好了。
怎么超度呢？
现在你还得给他念小房子。
因为我不会，我不懂。
他放不下你，而且我可以告诉你，他走的之前，他的小便非常不好，他有前列腺。
太对了。
大家看见了吗？所以老妈妈，我告诉你，人其实很傻，不会死的。人以为哎呦死掉了，一口气没了就死了。实际上他死掉之后，他真的什么都看清楚，什么都明白了。
对，
明白了吗？
他临走的时候对家里很不放心。
他对你不放心，他主要是说你的身体不好。他说你的心脏很微弱。
太好了，对，就是这样。
现在知道了吧？
就这样
现在大家相信了吧？你们今天当场见证的就相信了。如果不见证，听人家讲，你不相信啊？
因为我是从北京这边来的，所以
特别过来的，
第一次参加这个会，而且很幸运的就抽上了这个号，一点也没有托什么的，这绝对没有。
他说什么？他说什么？托了。开什么玩笑啊！台长开了几百场啊！
在很早以前他们有的做的报告然后怎么样，我听说我说我这个呢从大老远来的，我说我第一次参加这个。
你现在服了吧？
很幸运的，我说您说我的家里情况是这样的。
老妈妈，我告诉你了，你放心了。 我告诉你，你要是想知道厉害的话，我都知道你活几岁。
啊，谢谢。
你如果厉害的话，我可以叫你先生在1个礼拜当中来看你。
谢谢。
谢谢。我告诉你，这个真实不虚的东西啊，否则全世界会有1000万人跟着我学的。开玩笑了。老妈妈，你记住了，你的先生是好人，
是好人，
你也是个好人，
谢谢，
明白吗？怀才不遇，我告诉你，你先生脾气太倔，
对，太直了，
人家提拔他好几次，
对，
他刚正不阿，两袖清风，
对，
所以他现在在天上呀。
是，谢谢。
明白了不啦？
人家曾经让他当那个厂长，选当厂长，
好的不得了。
他不当，他说我自己还管不了自己，当不了。因为什么不当呢？因为他看的这个单位太腐败了，上了一个台长腐败一下，上个台长腐败一下，所以他是全单位，就是他
说什么上个台长就腐败一下，上个台就腐败，什么台长腐败啊？
不是，我说
跟你开玩笑的。台长什么都知道。
好了，
台长喜欢开玩笑。老妈妈，你今天亲眼看见了，对不对？你自己都知道了。
我知道。
你好好的活着。
好，谢谢。
明白了吗？
好。
你很坚强，明白了吗？
谢谢。
自己一个人活在这个世界上，问心无愧，对得起别人，做好人，做好事情啊，永远要干干净净。你这个人就屹立在不败东方。
好，为了节约时间，我再问最后一个问题吧。
好，
这个问题我想也是我丈夫，他可能在天之灵，可能也是让我问的，因为我这个我的女儿啊，现在怀孕了，她是2月，因为医生啊最近查说小孩的头大，因为头大呢是正常范围内大。因为他年龄大了，今年36、7了，所以医生呢让他提前生还怎么着？您看什么时间生合适？
几年属什么的？你女儿？
我女儿是1978年10月17日属马。
78年属马的。
对。
这孩子蛮大的。
他是应该是2月10号生。医生让他
很奇怪啊，
提前
头怎么在上面呢？
是吗？
头没朝下。横过来，一会儿朝上，一会儿横过来，羊水道很多。
现在我女儿在现场呢。
你问他好了，现在会踢他呢，这孩子。你问他。
他在现场呢。
踢不踢啊？
是的，那肯定了。
头大没关系的，你跟他说。做剖腹产没有危险。
那不要
做剖腹产
要自己生怎么样？
有病啊！
医生让他2月4日催产。
你跟医生说，叫他剖腹产。我看这孩子有点来历的，不想从正常的渠道出来，因为他很干净。因为有的天上来的菩萨，他基本上都是剖腹产的。
非常感谢。
老妈妈，你听得懂吗？
听得懂。我今天来了很幸运，再次感谢卢台长。
好好相信啊！
我在最后说一下，我以后怎么去学佛，我不懂，你简单。
你带我到门口去问。要念心经、大悲咒、礼佛3个经。好吧。做人呢要许愿、放生、念经3种就可以了。什么都不要花，什么都不要做的。就好好念经学佛，好好的有慈悲心，不要恨。明白了吗？你现在唯一的还有点恨。你的心中过去人家对你不好，你还不能忘记，你一定要忘记。
您说的太对了。我怎么把他那个坟墓能够在让他安心呢？
他这个坟墓呢，现在是这样，第一次呢帮他弄得太烂了，这个坟墓啊，
因为很仓促啊。
对，草的就下葬了，他很不开心。
对。
所以第2次呢，又是托人弄的时候呢，左讲前右讲前， 他这个人呢，特别的刚正不阿。
对对。
他这个人呢，非常的就是说我做什么事情，好像你们为了我这个坟墓，好像左右扣掉一点，那么要便宜，这个要怎么样？他不开心。
哦。
你们跟他讲讲就好了。跟他忏悔忏悔，跟观世音菩萨，我要跟我先生某某某讲几句话，叫他安心，叫他不要有想法，我们是凡人肉胎，如果有得罪的他的地方，叫他多多的原谅，一讲就好了，好吗？
行，
你这个先生就是这样的。
我先生那个培养了好多那个高3的学生，考入好大学。
知道，而且你先生，我告诉你了，你们弄那个坟墓啊，最后搞来搞去啊，还是用了他很多钱。听得懂吗？
听得懂。
所以他心想，用我的钱还要不给我用。听得懂了吗？
好，谢谢台长啊，谢谢。
好。
You know, as somebody who also works in the fields of hypnosis and stage hypnosis, I'm always surprised by the way the general public sees it. I believe that most people probably see hypnosis as really about, turning people into chickens, basically. And another thing, if you ask somebody who's a little bit, let's say, a little more paranoid, that you'll find out that hypnosis is really about mind control. And you talk to somebody who's a little more traditional, and you'll find out that hypnosis is really about sin and something quasi-diabolical. Here's an example of a Svengali who is a 20th century film star who was a evil hypnotist. Now, even among the scientific community, there's been studies that show, serious studies that show that there is no such thing as hypnosis, that the hypnotic state does not actually exist. And I think that even if you talk to, let's say, educated people, such as yourselves, that you'll find out when you boil it down that hypnosis appears to be some kind of magician's trick, a mind trick, and that when you boil it down, it's ultimately completely and totally fake. Now, what if I said to you that if we don't understand hypnosis, is it possible that we could be being hypnotized right now? You basically don't know. So I'm going to make a suggestion. Let's call it a hypnotic suggestion. I'm going to suggest to you that hypnosis is entirely real. In fact, stage hypnosis is real, and hypnotherapy is real. Here's an example of some of the many things that are treated with hypnotherapy as well. Not only that, but accelerated learning by hypnosis is real. And the hypnotic bar, as was previously mentioned, a bar where people are hypnotized to be completely drunk while they remain absolutely sober, is also real. Hypnosurgery, where you can be operated on while completely awake, is also real. And, of course, absolutely, that being turned into a chicken under hypnosis is also completely real. Maybe I could start off by saying there's a good reason why we don't understand hypnosis. And these are some of the reasons. If we go way back in time, probably the first hypnotists were shamans, Aboriginal and Native shamans. Here's an example, a real example from 1914. But shamans generally didn't share their secrets. There's one man who really put hypnosis on the map, and that's this guy, Anton Mesmer, an Austrian doctor. He was so influential that the word to be entranced, to be mesmerized, is from his name, Mesmer. Mesmer was the talk of Paris, and in the 1780s, more than 3,000 people a day would often go visit Mesmer to be healed. He would do strange incantations. He would appear to knock people out. He would give them and hold them with magnets. And thousands of people would come to see him regularly. Now, this attracted the attention of the medical establishment of the time, and they put pressure on the King of France, Louis XVI, who actually organized a royal commission to investigate Mesmer, which was led by this guy, Benjamin Franklin. Now, the interesting thing about Benjamin Franklin is at that time he was the ambassador to France and also a great scientist. And he and another group of scientific luminaries got together and they investigated Mesmer. They concluded that there was nothing to Mesmer's claims, that he was not really healing people. And as a result, Mesmer was treated and named a fraud and a charlatan. In fact, here's some popular artwork of the time that shows Mesmer being sent to the fires of obscurity by the light of reason, science, and justice. I would say that till this day, as a result, hypnosis, hypnotism, lives in the shadows. In fact, if you go to a bookstore, often in North America or Canada, and ask for books on hypnotism, you'll usually be referred to the occult section. So, this is why hypnosis remains in the realm of the fake. Now, if that's true, if hypnosis is fake, can I propose maybe a simple test? That basically, we perform right here, this is a quasi-scientific formula, that we perform a series of very simple hypnotic inductions and maybe some hypnotic suggestions, and we see what happens. If hypnosis is fake, then nothing will happen. If it's real, then I guess we'll see. Is that okay? Okay. All right. So, if anybody's nervous, and that is, there's actually a veterinarian wrote an article for the newspaper that explained that what's actually going on here is that cats are actually reliving traumas. They're not, but here's the weird thing. Why are cats afraid of cucumbers? Because cucumbers remind them of what? Or look like what? Snakes. Exactly. They look like snakes. But hold on a second. Would domestic cats in North America or in Kingston or anywhere like that, would they ever encounter a snake? No. Never. So why would domestic cats all seemingly be programmed to already be afraid of snakes that they've never met? The explanation, very simply, is that Professor Michel Jouvert, experimental medicine at the University of Lyon in the 60s, did a series of experiments. He's called the Christopher Columbus of dreams. And his theory is that mammals, or all mammals, while they're in the womb, basically enjoy a powerful REM state, a dream state. That dream state may be essential to programming us to be what we are. So cats would be programmed to be afraid of snakes while in the womb. That would be an explanation for why they are now afraid of cucumbers, even though they never encounter snakes. That makes sense. So now, is it possible that hypnosis is us hacking in to this actual dream state? And let's take a look. Here's a common experiment. You probably remember the movie The Matrix. In The Matrix, Neo is programmed to know Kung Fu. It's advanced technology, helps him know Kung Fu. And I'm going to suggest to you that we can do something like that today. I'll take this person right here. You are a Kung Fu master now. And you're going to demonstrate a new form of Kung Fu in the red dot known as TEDx, a powerful, dramatic form of Kung Fu. You will always remain safe, and you will not push your body beyond its known limits. You are also a Kung Fu master. You will perform an even more dramatic form known as TEDx squared. You will also always remain safe, and you will perform your Kung Fu exhibition right after the first one. So I'm going to ask this person to come back to the room on the count of 3, 2, 1. I'm going to snap my fingers. Please meet the master of Kung Fu right now. Sir, you want to... Demonstrating the rare and beautiful TEDx form. Tara, coming back in the room now. You are a Kung Fu master. You will beat that incredible demonstration that you only heard. You're going to perform. This is the form now known as TEDx squared. Thank you. Now, I want to take us in conclusion, maybe back to the chicken. What is really truly amazing, actually, is that when I do hypnosis shows, I used to avoid ever turning people into chickens because it's cliche and silly. But then I actually learned something amazing. When you do the research, there's something amazing about people being chickens. So I'm going to do a demonstration. Deep breath in, relax, and sleep. Beautiful. Maybe, Tara, you can go right back to sleep. Beautiful. Very good. You are a chicken. peck and you say baka, and you do all the chickeny things. You are a chicken. That's right. You do all the chickeny things. You're a great, amazing chicken. You, madam, are a cat. You are a cat. And you're very much like a cat. Now, chickens can come out. You can step up here. Now, one thing about chickens and cats. Now, I'll just ask you, I'm going to remind you, as chickens and cats, you have been programmed to be mortally afraid of cucumbers. If you see an image, if you see a picture or an image of a cucumber, you will scream.
To this day, Honda's engineers have continued to improve its functionality in everyday environments.
Okay, you're going to hold one end, and I'm going to hold the other end. Now what I want you to do is look at me, look up at me, and I want you to move that way. You got a little bit of a bend in the rod. Now look back at your rod. Look back at this rod right here. Try and get that straight so it's not bent. And then come towards me a little bit, little tiny bit, a little bit, stop. And Okay? Now put a bend in it. Put a bend in it like that. Okay. Good. Now go back to straight. Make it straight. Very good. Now put a bend in it the other way. Okay? Now straighten it out again. Okay? Now I want you to go down. Lower your end. More. More. Okay, stop right there. Okay, now I want to back out. Smooth this out. Okay. Release.
Prepare walking.
I understand that you say prepare walking. Confirm yes or no.
Yes.
Roger. I'm doing it.
Walk forward.
I understand that you say walk forward. Confirm yes or no.
Yes.
Roger. I'm doing it.
Walk backward.
I understand that you say move backward. Confirm yes or no.
Yes.
Roger. I'm doing it.
Turn right.
I understand that you say turn right. Confirm yes or no.
Yes.
Roger. I'm doing it.
Stand up. Stand up.
I understand that you say stand up. Confirm yes or no.
Yes.
Roger. I'm doing it.
Detect object.
I understand that you say detect object. Confirm yes or no.
Yes.
What color is the object?
Red.
Detect read object. Confirm yes or no.
Yes.
I can approach the object by following the steps. Turn right 4.64 degrees, move forward 1.45 meters.
好，可以关。
Most people live in urban areas. As these populations grow, they place increasing demand on city leaders. Despite challenges, leaders must find innovative ways to collaborate and engage with businesses and citizens and turn problems into opportunities. In order to meet and exceed citizen expectations, city leaders rely on key partnerships with businesses and agencies to align resources and deliver smarter solutions in planning and management, human services, and infrastructure. So when the city wins a bid to host the National Football Cup, they'll need a solution that will give city executives insight into critical pressing issues, so they can be confident that event preparation goals are met while citizen needs are addressed. The IBM Intelligent Operations Center for Smarter Cities empowers city management with a holistic view of operations across all agencies and interconnects cities and their partner organizations to increase operational efficiencies and enhance the effectiveness of service delivery. With integrated insight across departments and agencies, leaders can leverage information for better decision-making, anticipate critical issues and resolve them proactively, and coordinate resources and processes for more efficient operations. The Intelligent Operations Center provides a simplified view of city operations. It provides historical reports for management reporting and trend analysis, as well as situational awareness to connect distributed data sources and visualize patterns over time to ensure that resources are optimized for current and future issues. Near real-time key performance indicators help monitor and optimize the performance of city services, personnel, and programs. And multi-stakeholder inclusion enables city leaders to collaborate with agencies, businesses, and citizens to ensure that the event runs smoothly and that citizen needs are met. With mobile capabilities, the Intelligent Operations Center Executive Dashboard empowers busy leaders to have immediate access to information about relevant issues and operations, wherever they are. Now, as visitors flood the city, citizens begin to express frustration about event-related issues, like traffic delays. The city responds quickly by creating special event routes from major hotels to the stadium and rerouting native traffic. City officials broadcast citywide messages, alerting citizens to new traffic routes to help accommodate event delays. They can also update stakeholders on detour plans and other event preparation details via instant message. Through the Intelligent Operations Center for Citizen Collaboration, citizens can work with the city to report issues and their eventual resolution. On opening day of the event, a team bus backs into a fire hydrant, forcing it out of service. Citizens report the broken hydrant via mobile device, and the information is logged within the Intelligent Operations Center. That night, after a come-from-behind win at the event's main match, emergency responders receive reports from citizens that fans have lit several fires outside the stadium. The Intelligent Operations Center for Emergency Response is equipped with standard operating procedures for rapid response to emergencies, including extreme weather, crowd management, and fire. Via computer-aided dispatch, the Intelligent Operations Center automatically updates the fire department that the closest fire hydrant is out of commission. With this new information, fire responders are equipped with an extra-long hose and water truck to quickly extinguish the blazes. The city analyzes surveillance camera feeds to assist law enforcement in apprehending the responsible parties. Overall, the National Football Cup is a success. Before the event, city leaders deployed a survey via social media to collect ideas from citizens for repurposing the custom-built stadium. Now they analyze that feedback and announce a plan to repurpose the stadium as a venue for community programs for at-risk kids. The city's responsiveness results in a significant increase in sports program participation and a swell in community pride and positive identity. By empowering city leaders to collaborate and engage with citizens and businesses and interconnect across systems, the IBM Intelligent Operations Center can help cities provide sustainable economic growth and enhanced quality of life, helping support smarter cities all over the world. Let's build a smarter planet, city by city.
Reinvention. It's nothing new to manufacturing. We've always reinvented ourselves as a way of surviving. But what if, instead of just surviving, we were able to flourish? With our own business and our customers' business as well. These days, customers expect more agility, more transparency, more collaboration. By working more closely with our customers, we can move from transacting to creating holistic, integrated solutions. The key to it all lies in harnessing the data all around us and putting it into action. Introducing Nimbus, a digital ecosystem that transforms how our business can do more for our customers and their business. Imagine modular facilities that reconfigure solutions and workflows to provide customers with a more dynamic range of products and services. Real-time predictive processes that look past today's customer needs and enable smarter decision-making for the future. Any aspect of the value chain is now right at our fingertips and can be made visible to anyone. Pricing, order status, logistics, any question a customer may have is all there at a glance. Nimbus also fuels R&D efforts by monitoring product reviews, making us catalysts for future projects instead of just cogs in the machine. Sales and account teams now have a holistic view of customer demand with up-to-date financial data, sales cycles, and integrated solutions. This key competitive advantage allows us to be more responsive and collaborative with customers. Until now, our partnerships have been built on our ability to create and deliver quality products. But with Nimbus, seamless connectivity and transparency come together to elevate our relationships from vendor to trusted partner.
When we talk about English, we often think of it as a single language. But what do the dialects spoken in dozens of countries around the world have in common with each other, or with the writings of Chaucer? And how are any of them related to the strange words in Beowulf? The answer is that, like most languages, English has evolved through generations of speakers, undergoing major changes over time. By undoing these changes, we can trace the language from the present day back to its ancient roots. While modern English shares many similar words with Latin-derived Romance languages like French and Spanish, most of those words were not originally part of it. Instead, they started coming into the language with the Norman invasion of England in 1066. When the French-speaking Normans conquered England and became its ruling class, they brought their speech with them, adding a massive amount of French and Latin vocabulary to the English language previously spoken there. Today, we call that language Old English. This is the language of Beowulf. It probably doesn't look very familiar, but it might be more recognizable if you know some German. That's because Old English belongs to the Germanic language family, first brought to the British Isles in the 5th and 6th centuries by the Angles, Saxons, and Jutes. The Germanic dialects they spoke would become known as Anglo-Saxon. Viking invaders in the 8th to 11th centuries added more borrowings from Old Norse into the mix. It may be hard to see the roots of modern English underneath all the words borrowed from French, Latin, Old Norse, and other languages. But comparative linguistics can help us by focusing on grammatical structure, patterns of sound changes, and certain core vocabulary. For example, after the 6th century, German words starting with P systematically shifted to a PF sound, while their Old English counterparts kept the P unchanged. In another split, words that have SK sounds in Swedish developed an SH sound in English. There are still some English words with SK, like skirt and skull, but they're direct borrowings from Old Norse that came after the SK to SH shift. These examples show us that just as the various Romance languages descended from Latin, English, Swedish, German, and many other languages descended from their own common ancestor, known as Proto-Germanic, spoken around 500 BCE. Because this historical language was never written down, we can only reconstruct it by comparing its descendants, which is possible thanks to the consistency of the changes. We can even use the same process to go back one step further and trace the origins of Proto-Germanic to a language called Proto-Indo-European, spoken about 6,000 years ago on the Pontic Steppe in modern-day Ukraine and Russia. This is the reconstructed ancestor of the Indo-European family that includes nearly all languages historically spoken in Europe, as well as large parts of southern and western Asia. And though it requires a bit more work, we can find the same systematic similarities, or correspondences, between related words in different Indo-European branches. Comparing English with Latin, we see that English has T where Latin has D, and F where Latin has P at the start of words. Some of English's more distant relatives include Hindi, Persian, and the Celtic languages it displaced in what is now Britain. Proto-Indo-European itself descended from an even more ancient language, but unfortunately, this is as far back as historical and archaeological evidence will allow us to go. Many mysteries remain just out of reach, such as whether there might be a link between Indo-European and other major language families, and the nature of the languages spoken in Europe prior to its arrival. But the amazing fact remains that nearly 3 billion people around the world, many of whom cannot understand each other, are nevertheless speaking the same words shaped by 6,000 years of history. Would mathematics exist if people didn't? Since ancient times, mankind has hotly debated whether mathematics was discovered or invented. Did we create mathematical concepts to help us understand the universe around us? Or is math the native language of the universe itself, existing whether we find its truths or not? Are numbers, polygons, and equations truly real, or merely ethereal representations of some theoretical ideal? The independent reality of math has some ancient advocates. The Pythagoreans of 5th century Greece believed numbers were both living entities and universal principles. They called the number 1 the monad, the generator of all other numbers and source of all creation. Numbers were active agents in nature. Plato argued mathematical concepts were concrete and as real as the universe itself, regardless of our knowledge of them. Euclid, the father of geometry, believed nature itself was the physical manifestation of mathematical laws. Others argue that while numbers may or may not exist physically, mathematical statements definitely don't. Their truth values are based on rules that humans created. Mathematics is thus an invented logic exercise, with no existence outside mankind's conscious thought, a language of abstract relationships based on patterns discerned by brains, built to use those patterns to invent useful but artificial order from chaos. One proponent of this sort of idea was Leopold Kronecker, a professor of mathematics in 19th century Germany. His belief is summed up in his famous statement, "God created the natural numbers. All else is the work of man." During mathematician David Hilbert's lifetime, there was a push to establish mathematics as a logical construct. Hilbert attempted to axiomatize all of mathematics, as Euclid had done with geometry. He and others who attempted this saw mathematics as a deeply philosophical game, but a game nonetheless. Henri Poincaré, one of the fathers of non-Euclidean geometry, believed that the existence of non-Euclidean geometry, dealing with the non-flat surfaces of hyperbolic and elliptical curvatures, proved that Euclidean geometry, the long-standing geometry of flat surfaces, was not a universal truth, but rather one outcome of using one particular set of game rules. But in 1960, Nobel Physics laureate Eugene Wigner coined the phrase the unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics, pushing strongly for the idea that mathematics is real and discovered by people. Wigner pointed out that many purely mathematical theories, developed in a vacuum often with no view towards describing any physical phenomena, have proven decades or even centuries later to be the framework necessary to explain how the universe has been working all along. For instance, the number theory of British mathematician Godfrey Hardy, who had boasted that none of his work would ever be found useful in describing any phenomena in the real world, helped establish cryptography. Another piece of his purely theoretical work became known as the Hardy-Weinberg law in genetics and won a Nobel Prize. And Fibonacci stumbled upon his famous sequence while looking at the growth of an idealized rabbit population. Mankind later found the sequence everywhere in nature, from sunflower seeds and flower petal arrangements to the structure of a pineapple, even the branching of bronchi in the lungs. Or there's the non-Euclidean work of Bernhard Riemann in the 1850s, which Einstein used in the model for general relativity a century later. Here's an even bigger jump. Mathematical knot theory, first developed around 1771 to describe the geometry of position, was used in the late 20th century to explain how DNA unravels itself during the replication process. It may even provide key explanations for string theory. Some of the most influential mathematicians and scientists of all of human history have chimed in on the issue as well, often in surprising ways. So, is mathematics an invention or a discovery? Artificial construct or universal truth? Human product or natural, possibly divine creation? These questions are so deep, the debate often becomes spiritual in nature. The answer might depend on the specific concept being looked at, but it can all feel like a distorted Zen koan. If there's a number of trees in a forest, but no one's there to count them, does that number exist? In the 16th century, the mathematician Robert Ricord wrote a book called The Whetstone of Wit to teach English students algebra. But he was getting tired of writing the words "is equal to" over and over. His solution? He replaced those words with 2 parallel horizontal line segments because the way he saw it, no 2 things can be more equal. Could he have used 4 line segments instead of 2? Of course. Could he have used vertical line segments? In fact, some people did. There's no reason why the equal sign had to look the way it does today. At some point, it just caught on, sort of like a meme. More and more mathematicians began to use it, and eventually it became a standard symbol for equality. Math is full of symbols: lines, dots, arrows, English letters, Greek letters, superscripts, subscripts. It can look like an illegible jumble. It's normal to find this wealth of symbols a little intimidating, and to wonder where they all came from. Sometimes, as Ricord himself noted about his equal sign, there's an apt conformity between the symbol and what it represents. Another example of that is the plus sign for addition, which originated from a condensing of the Latin word et, meaning and. Sometimes, however, the choice of symbol is more arbitrary, such as when a mathematician named Christian Kramp introduced the exclamation mark for factorials, just because he needed a shorthand for expressions like this. In fact, all of these symbols were invented or adopted by mathematicians who wanted to avoid repeating themselves, or having to use a lot of words to write out mathematical ideas. Many of the symbols used in mathematics are letters, usually from the Latin alphabet or Greek. Characters are often found representing quantities that are unknown and the relationships between variables. They also stand in for specific numbers that show up frequently, but would be cumbersome or impossible to fully write out in decimal form. Sets of numbers and whole equations can be represented with letters too. Other symbols are used to represent operations. Some of these are especially valuable as shorthand because they condense repeated operations into a single expression. The repeated addition of the same number is abbreviated with a multiplication sign, so it doesn't take up more space than it has to. A number multiplied by itself is indicated with an exponent that tells you how many times to repeat the operation. And a long string of sequential terms added together is collapsed into a capital sigma. These symbols shorten lengthy calculations to smaller terms that are much easier to manipulate. Symbols can also provide succinct instructions about how to perform calculations. Consider the following set of operations on a number. Take some number that you're thinking of, multiply it by 2, subtract 1 from the result, multiply the result of that by itself, divide the result of that by 3, and then add 1 to get the final output. Without our symbols and conventions, we'd be faced with this block of text. With them, we have a compact, elegant expression. Sometimes, as with equals, these symbols communicate meaning through form. Many, however, are arbitrary. Understanding them is a matter of memorizing what they mean and applying them in different contexts until they stick, as with any language. If we were to encounter an alien civilization, they'd probably have a totally different set of symbols. But if they think anything like us, they'd probably have symbols. And their symbols may even correspond directly to ours. They'd have their own multiplication sign, symbol for pi, and, of course, equals. If you